Hi everyone! Welcome to my channel. Always remember, ignorance of the law excuses no one. This is Legally Engineer.
Compensation.
Fifth mode, starting at Article 1278. What does it provide? Ano ba yung compensation?
Yan. Compensation shall take place when two persons in their own right are creditors and debtors of each other.
So this is this extinguishment to the concurrent amount of the debts of two persons who, in their own right, are debtors and creditors of each other. So it involves simultaneous balancing of two obligations in order to extinguish them to the extent in which the amount of one is covered by that of the other. Halimbawa, Attorney Uy, may utang ako sa iyo, 1,000 pesos.
Okay.
May utang ka sa akin, 700 pesos. Can there be compensation in that case? And assuming na both debts are due and demandable, Attorney Uy?
Yes, there is partial compensation in the amount of 700 pesos. So, I am still liable to pay 300 pesos sa iyo.
So, partial compensation ang mangyayari.
So, kung ang utang ko naman sa iyo is 1,000 at ang utang mo rin sa akin ay 1,000, so, and both are due, for example, today, so there can be total compensation.
So the two debts in that case are extinguished without actual transfer of money between the two of us.
So, what do you think, Attorney Maralit, is the object or the purpose of compensation?
Well, it's for the purpose of preventing unnecessary litigations and payments. Bakit pa naman ako magbabayad sa iyo at magbabayad ka sa akin? Pwede naman na nating i-offset compensation.
Tama.
So, tayong wag nating komplikaduhin ang buhay natin. So, compensation is often called simplified payment because it
provides a more convenient and less expensive effectuation of payments between two persons who are reciprocally creditors and debtors.
Okay. So, may difference ba ang compensation and confusion, Attorney Uy?
Yes, there are differences. Nandito, first, in confusion, there is only one person who is a debtor and creditor of himself. Sabi natin, merge yung characters ng debtors and creditors into one person. While in compensation, there are two persons involved and each of whom is a debtor and creditor of each other.
So malinaw naman yun sa atin. Siguro kailangan lang nating i-emphasize sa kanila that there are different kinds of compensation. The first of which is by its effect or extent. Pag sinabi nating effect or extent, pag-usapan natin yan kung total or partial. Yung sinabi kanina ni Attorney Uy, kung pareho naman yung amount, edi total compensation. Kung mas maliit yung amount ng isa, edi may partial compensation. So that's as regards its effect or extent. Pangalawa, by its cause or origin. So, meron diyang tinatawag na first legal compensation, voluntary compensation, judicial compensation, and facultative compensation. Ano ba yung legal compensation?
Siyempre, from the word itself, when compensation takes place by operation of law, even without the knowledge of the parties. So voluntary naman, when compensation takes place by agreement or stipulation of the parties. Voluntary. Judicial naman, it takes place by order from a court in a litigation.
Facultative, which when it can be set up only by one of the parties. Okay. Now, what are the requisites of legal compensation, Attorney Uy?
So first, under Article 1279, kailangan the parties are principal creditors and debtors of each other. And both debts consist in a sum of money or of a consumable things of the same kind and quality. Third, the two debts are due and demandable, and the two debts are liquidated, and no retention or controversy commenced by a third person. So let's give example for each requisite.
Yes. So the first requisite na binanggit mo, Attorney Uy, is that the parties are principal creditors and principal debtors of each other. Halimbawa, si A may utang kay B na 1,000 pesos at si B may utang din kay A na 1,000 pesos. Then in that case, compensation will take place because obviously A and B are principal debtors and creditors of each other. So yung second requisite naman na meron ka is that both debts consist of sum of money or of consumable thing of the same kind and quality. Halimbawa, si A may utang kay B 1,000 pesos. Tapos si B may utang kay A na let's say electric fan worth 1,000 pesos. Pwede bang magka-compensation?
There can be no compensation kasi dapat, ang sabi sa number 2 na requisite, both debts must consist sum of money or of consumable things of the same kind and quality.
Halimbawa naman, may utang ako sa iyo, 10 sako ng palay. Ikaw naman may utang sa akin, 10 sako ng mais.
Yes.
Magkakaroon ba ng compensation? Pareho naman 10 sako.
Hindi pa rin. Kasi dapat ang compensation of consumable things must be of the same kind and same quality. So, hindi magkaparas yung mais sa bigas.
Kahit na, alam ba yung 10 sako ng NFA sa'yo, 10 sako ng sinandoming sa akin?
Hindi, kasi hindi same quality.
Take note of that. Alamin niyo kung ano nasa loob ng sako.
Oo.
Baka tao na pala yun.
Oo.
Meron na palang dyan, pinatay. Pangatlo, yan. Then tayo sa, when two debts are due, the two debts must be due or
and mandable.
Ano yun? Example.
Okay, so, may utang ako sa'yo, 1,000 due today. Ikaw may utang sa akin 1,000 din, pero due pa next month. Can there be compensation?
Obviously, walang compensation in that case because the debts are not due on the same date. However, if in that case, halimbawa, ikaw, Attorney Uy, ay hindi pa nakakabayad sa akin ng pagkakautang mo on the day na naging due and demandable na rin yung obligation ko, then maaari magkaroon ng compensation.
Yes, kung kailan naging due yung utang mo na mas no next month pa.
Basta, ang mahalaga lang dito, on the day na ina-apply natin ng compensation, pareho ng due and demandable.
Yes.
So, okay. Pangapat, the two debts are
liquidated.
Ano po ibig sabihin ng liquidated?
Liquidated? Liquid.
Yung alam mo na kung magkano, yung determined na. So halimbawa, ikaw, Attorney Uy, may utang sa akin 1,000 pesos. Ako naman may utang sa iyo sa share sa business, profit and the amount of which is still to be ascertained. Hindi pa natin alam kung magkano talaga yung share doon sa profit sa business. Can there be compensation?
Sabi, compensation will not take place as the debt of B is not liquidated.
B, Bendry. Hindi pa liquidated.
Oo nga.
So, hindi pa liquidated.
Siya, si Bendry. A, April.
Okay, so hindi pa liquidated yung dapat ascertain muna. Okay? So, hindi ko pwedeng refuse na hindi mo na ako magbabayad sa'yo kasi may utang ka naman din sa akin doon sa share sa business. Pero pwede nga sabihin na, hindi pa naman liquidated. So, there can be no compensation. Magbayad ka muna. Okay? Take note of that.
So, but if part of the debt of Bendrick has been liquidated, compensation takes place with respect to that part without waiting for the liquidation of the rest.
Pwede naman. Magkaroon ng partial.
Kung na-determine na kung magkano ang profits, edi pwede. On the amount.
Pang-5, no retention or controversy commenced by a third person. Actually, kung papansinin nyo, yung first 4, lahat naman yung positive requisites.
Yes.
Pero ito, negative requisite for legal compensation. Bakit kamo? Kasi nga, dito makikita natin na dapat walang retention or controversy commenced by a third person. Halimbawa, si A may utang
si
kay
April
B,
may utang kay Bendrick na 10,000 pesos. Si Bendrick may utang kay April ng 10,000 pesos. Tapos si Bendrick pa rin may utang kay C na 10,000 pesos.
So, kung titingnan nyo doon, sa unang tingin,
may compensation
kasi para creditor and debtor naman kami of one another, due and demandable naman, at saka
same
amount. Pero, in that case, paano kung ano nangyari? Si C, ginarnish niya yung credit ko kay April. At na-notify naman si April na huwag niya akong bayaran nung 10,000 pesos. In short, nag-commence ng action in court itong si C.
Yung pinagkakautangan niya, nag-commence ng action in court.
Kasi nga, in that case, sinasabi niya na he has a better right to the said amount.
So, in this case, compensation cannot take place between April and Bendrick in view of the controversy commenced by C, a third person. In the meantime, the compensation is suspended. Kasi kung matalo naman, for example, si C, if C will lose the case doon, edi there is compensation. Pero kung manalo siya, edi
may better right siya.
May better right to the amount.
Okay? So, take note. Again, wag niyong pangunahan ng court.
Yes.
Ano lang yan. Alright, so attorney, nabanggit mo kasi kanina na when it comes to compensation, kailangan due and demandable na yun.
Yes,
Pero,
general rule lang
general
pala
rule.
yun. Meron palang exception sa 1282.
Anong exception sa 1282?
So, the parties may agree upon compensation of debts which are not yet due. So, ito na yung voluntary compensation. If this provision of law is an exception to the general rule, sabi nga natin kanina. So, pwede yung any compensation which takes place by agreement of the parties even if all the requisites for legal compensation are not present. So, exception pala yun. So, even if yung requisites dun sa Article 1279 regarding compensation, kahit pala hindi lahat sila present, pero there is an agreement or stipulation of the parties na i-extinguish ang obligation, then that stipulation will prevail.
Yep. Alright. So, take note of that. Of course, napag-usapan naman yun. Now, under 1284, when one or both debts are rescissible or voidable, they may be compensated against each other before they are judicially rescinded or avoided. Okay, so ano ba yung rescissible? Under Article 1381 ito, madidiscuss pa natin to pagdating sa contracts, no? And voidable obligations, Article 1390. These contracts or agreements or obligations are valid until they are judicially rescinded or avoided. So prior to rescission or annulment, the debts may still be compensated against each other. So halimbawa, si debtor may utang kay creditor na let's say 1,000 pesos. Subsequently, si debtor or si D through fraud was able to make C, the creditor, sign a promissory note that creditor is indebted to D for the same amount. The debt of D is valid, but that of C is
voidable. Because there is fraud.
Because there is fraud.
May fraud. Kaya voidable. Before the debt of C, creditor, is nullified, both debts may be compensated against each other if all the requisites for legal compensation are present. So, ibig sabihin, before the courts declare the obligation to be to be voidable or rescissible, o bago ma-rescind or bago ma-annul yung obligation, pwede ang compensation. Pero after judicial declaration of rescission or annulment, there can be no valid compensation.
Halimbawa, suppose naman, attorney, since debt is later on annulled by the court nga, is D still liable considering that compensation had already taken place in that case?
Yes, the effect of the annulment is retroactive. It is the same as if there had been no compensation.
Okay, so take note of that, guys. Extinguishment through compensation. Right. So, Attorney Uy, another important provision under extinguishment of obligation through compensation is Article 1290.
Yes.
Ano bang sinasabi dyan sa 1290?
So, sabi ng 1290, when all the requisites mentioned in Article 1279 are present, compensation takes effect by operation of law and extinguishes both debts to the concurrent amount even though the creditors and debtors are not aware of the compensation. So, Article 1290 substantially talks about consent of parties which are not required in legal compensation.
Because compensation takes place automatically by mere operation of law in this case. From the moment all the requisites mentioned in Article 1279 concur, compensation takes place automatically even in the absence of agreement between the concerned parties, and this shall extinguish reciprocally both debts to the amount of their respective sums. Okay? It takes place by operation of law from the day all the necessary requisites concur without need of consent on the part of the parties and even without their knowledge. Okay? How about yung legal capacity? Are they required in this case?
So, sabi nga natin kanina, since yung compensation takes place by operation of law and without any act of the parties, it is not required that the parties have full legal capacity to give or to receive as the case may be. Yun nga consent, hindi required. Yung pag naman kayang full legal capacity.
Yes. Alright, at this juncture, meron lang akong itatanong sa mga follow-up sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon.
Yes.
And we want you to answer this through the comment section. Okay?
Yes.
So, this is our question, no? And we would like to see kung paano nyo ito sasagutin sa comment section as a practice, no?
Yes.
So, halimbawa, si debtor, humiram siya ng 50,000 pesos as character loan. That means no security from a bank. Okay. Despite demands for payment after the loan fell due, si debtor, hindi siya nakapagbayad sa bangko. D has a savings deposit of 40,000 pesos with the same bank. Has the bank the right to apply the deposit to the payment of this debt? In short, si debtor may utang kay bangko, magkano? 50,000. Nung June na,
pero merong deposito
oo, si debtor sa bangko.
kay bangko.
Magkano?
40,000 pesos.
So, ang tanong lang naman dito sa inyo guys, may karapatan ba, may right ba si bank to apply the deposit to the payment of this debt? Okay, we wanna see how you will answer that question through the comment section. Alright? Let's see who can get it right.